Hey everybody, it's Texas Stroker here, Alliance's Performance Shop, Lone Star Mopars.com. Tuesday night about 9:30 here. It's cool enough, but I've got the new space heater going. If you hear that, my apologies, but sorry not sorry. I don't want to freeze. So, speaking of warming up though, we got something hot off the press here. Picked it up this Saturday at local Harbor Freight. It was $19.99, one of 3 new items I was after, technically 5. The other 2 items very similar to this one were not available. They are a long reach pistol grip needle nose plier and then a long reach pistol grip duckbill tile plier. So you're thinking like, hey, I didn't know about those. What's this new one you've got? It's right here. And, it's a little awkward to fit this thing in the frame, it turns out. This is a 12-inch quick adjust plier. They're calling it an S-Jaw Quick Adjust Plier. So you might think of it as kind of like a quick adjust pipe wrench. When you see the whole thing in frame, which again is proving difficult to do, some of you will say, hey, that kind of looks like that Snap-on thing, huh? And that's, as you guessed it, probably the goal here. As you've seen with many things Icon has done, they're kind of replicating what they believe to be the cream of the crop, the top of the hill, whatever you want to say. And this is certainly the case in this iteration. Now, $19.99 is a fantastic price. Snap-on, to be fair, as best I know, I believe that's not going to be something made in America because it's going to be a Bahco specialty. That would be sourced out of Sweden, just simply rebranded technically under the same parent company, so not a huge deal. But you're going to pay way more money. Now, this is, I've just done 2 videos here frantically, trying to get things done in a real big time crunch with no free time. But I keep saying in those videos, like, I wish I had this stuff, but it's at work. That's what I have to say here. My Icon Pliers, I technically have the original 3-position combination pliers here. It's not a really great asset for the long reach needle nose. Those are at work. Again, they've been surprisingly good, and same goes for the Icon Pliers wrench, which would be the closest product from Icon that we could compare this to. I can tell you, if you've gotten a pliers wrench recently from, say, Knipex, it's going to be their Gen 2 or version 2.0, if you will. It's going to be lighter, a little bit of a redesign. The Icon closely mirrors a OG, an original of the Knipex pliers wrench. I've used the snot out of that thing at work. It's kind of to the point. The jaws are kind of, because mainly of what I've done to it. The jaws aren't exactly like perfectly smooth. They're also not rough. But it's seen some use. Again, I get to do far more in a given day at work, especially a given week or month, than I do here, because again, free time being the issue. So, that said, as much as I would love to tell you, like, oh, they suck, they're terrible, not worth it, it doesn't matter if it's a 1/5 or an 1/8 of the price of the whatever they're trying to knock off, it's junk. I can't tell you that. Again, I still consider it, even as long as we've had the first pair of my Icon Pliers, which would be close to a year. I got them, I believe, around my birthday last year, so we're like 11-ish months in. They've been surprisingly really good. So I'm also one of the weird people. I kind of like the handles on them. I know a lot of people use that as a caveat, like, yeah, the handle's not as good. It's not as soft, but it's not a terrible handle. So with that said, I probably have the most mileage on the pliers wrench, and of course, as I always say when I bust out these channel locks, I tend to use needle nose pliers. So those are great. They've held up really good. Again, I'd love to throw down all their shortcomings, but aside from like wear and tear, I don't really have anything for you. Still think it's kind of trashy that Icon doesn't offer other colors, but that's beside the point here. So what in the world are we doing with these? You'll say, hey, you got Cobras here, and these are even 12 inches. And then you'll say, and you surely have a pipe wrench. I was looking for the beat up pipe wrench. I don't know where it is. I think it might be like in the heavy drawer of the old Craftsman. So this is sort of the cleaner one. And this is kind of the hybrid line here, right? So if you're into German tools, if you're a Knipex person, you got Cobras. The question is, do you have a 12-inch? You know, your mileage may vary. If you're a home gamer, you probably have 10-inch and down. If you're doing stuff professionally, or you're just into stuff that's bigger, you know, heavy equipment, diesel stuff, what have you, probably do have a 12-inch. The Cobra is fantastic. It's got insane bite. It's got great grip. Again, look at this capacity. It's pretty absurd. I mean, if I grab the old Stanley here, it basically just clamps down. It's almost so big that it wouldn't fit that. So just very, very crudely here, we'll take a measurement. Inside to inside, it's like 2.5. We're just going to call it what we see, 2.5. Could we squeeze something more in the positions? Sure, but for all intents and purposes in this video, 2.5 inches. Also, it's very easy to change this, especially if you don't have a tripod in front of you, but closed, open, even as awkward as it is bumping into a tripod, super easy to articulate. This is a pipe wrench. The Cobra can do what this can do in most cases, and it's more compact, easier to get the jaws in places, but there's still a time and a place for the pipe wrench. For most people, and you gotta realize, like, plumbing has kind of gone away, you know, from the black iron pipe. You know, it hasn't gone away from black iron pipe. A lot of industrial stuff, water lines and airlines, particularly your compressed air systems. That might actually be why I couldn't find my beat up one. It's really cool. I think it was originally an orangey red color, but the patina, super sweet on that one. But you run into a situation, airline systems are rarely plumbed like they should be. You typically don't have the slope. You have slope, but you rarely have it going towards a drain. Alright? It's usually just straight. Of all the things that people get straight, an airline, one of them. But what happens, how big of a run do you have? How big of a pipe can you manhandle? Me here in the shop, I plumbed everything with copper. You know, it's way back in the day. But it was like 10 feet, and it was kind of a pain. You know, it's sort of hard to swing 10 feet up in the sky, so I tie rope loops, and, you know, you make stuff happen solo. Big pipe for your industrial compressed air system. Not as fun to work with solo. So what happens, as with any end of the run, unless you've just got the magically metered out shop with drops and everything, you got to join the pipe. And if you're just making a long run, say you're going 40 feet before you've got another drop because it's just like a warehouse space or something, you got a situation where you're probably going to have a union. And where you have that union with black pipe, it's probably rusted because this was probably done like 1980 and earlier. Right? So how do you get that out? You can grab in, especially if you've got like a pliers wrench from Knipex or even Icon, you can hold that fitting real good. What about the other side? Huh? You're like, what if you need to kind of get some torque on the other end to kind of start something or shimmy it back and forth, maybe break up some of the gunk and threads? That's where this guy comes in. This basically is not like a pliers wrench. You're going to mar up whatever you grab, and that's because these are designed to grab. You'll note, though, as I try to open this up to get to that big union that you're going to have on your line, not the fastest thing in the world. It's also, this one has a lot of slop in it. Again, this is going to vary depending on what brand and quality that you've got going. This one obviously from C. Heine, but strange brand, see it quite a bit. The jaws, again, are where the action is. They're designed to grip. So when we set this down, this is again kind of a hybrid between the old school beloved or hated plier pipe wrench and a Cobra type of a thing, right? And that's because this is specifically designed to grab pipe. Round, square, hex, has those added benefits, right? So if we were coming in here and you've got a, I don't know, some sort of a broach that's stuck and you've got to jostle it free, your pliers wrench is kind of slipping around. If you've got an area that you don't have to press through or you don't care about, again, tearing up, something like this can give you a really good grip. So $19.99 is a killer price in my opinion. Again, this is the only configuration currently. As of right now, 12-inch is the only iteration available. I feel like that's a pretty good size for a pipe wrench, personally. This is a 14-inch if you're curious. Again, those Knipex back there are a 12. It's sort of the be-all, do-all. Are there situations where you need something smaller to actually have like a better swing radius? Absolutely. Are there situations where you would want more leverage than this could generate? Yes. But combining those two, when you're looking at where it can go and what it can do leverage-wise, this is kind of your happy medium, in my opinion. So flipping her around, let's see what Harbor Freight has to say. Again, this is super awkward, given the length and the tripod. What they're going to advertise is ideal for, they're just right out of the gate. They're saying what a lot of you are probably sitting here saying, like, that's what I use my Snap-on PWZs for. Wheel alignment, tie rods, and confined spaces. Again, use the 12-inch with a grain of salt. Obviously, under a vehicle, how you'd be using them there. Lots of space. Other situations, you might not be as gratuitously greeted with open confines there. Coming in next, the S-shaped jaw. Again, that's easy to see here in the illustration. Can grip hex, round, square, and other irregular surfaces. Yes, we're talking about you, pentagon and octagon. Are we? Who knows? If you've got that stuff, will this grip it? I believe it will. Next up, they have angled teeth, which again you'll see when we flip it around here. The big selling point here is going to be the quick adjust. This could just be a standard pipe wrench, in which case you could probably get one for less money at Harbor Freight in a decent quality. This is probably a step above there, and it's a significant step above in certain features, which we will showcase shortly. So the quick adjust features locked jaws in desired position. It's got hardened jaws. They don't specify to what degree, but hardened jaws for superior strength and durability, and there are molded grips for added comfort. Now, this is, you've heard me say this before. Why on earth does Harbor Freight not do their own thing? This is basically a Bahco Snap-on, right? You've got your padded handle back here. You've got a thin textured grip over here on your threaded rod end. Could they have put this style of a handle here? Absolutely. Would they have done that on their own accord design-wise? Possibly. You don't really know what they were thinking when the design is based off of someone's existing product and what they did. For example, Godor, Stavilla. If we had something similar here, a Swedish pipe wrench, if we get something that's not just a bare metal handle on both sides, right, would we have padded on both ends? Like if we went JC with a Godor, the black and the blue, sort of similar to this, would we have that on both ends with Stavilla? Just texture dip both sides, maybe double dip them? What would Icon have done of their own accord? We don't really know, because they looked at what they thought was the best on the market that they wanted to target and compete against. They say, hey, look, here's what Snap-on / Bahco is doing. Let's replicate it, make it our own. And that's what we have here. The good news is it's way, way less. The bad news is, what would they have done? You know, maybe I would prefer to have had more padding on this side. Now, realistically, when you see these kind of in use, you can kind of get by on one side, right? They're going to lock, but you have to question, like, hey, would it have been cool to have that when we kind of cinch it up? And who knows? Lifetime warranty, again, designed in the USA, manufactured in Taiwan. Does it say that? It actually does. How did I know that? Because virtually everything I've ever bought from Icon has that exact same story. And again, these were on the end cap, but sadly, my local store that I was in at that time did not have the long reach pistol grip pliers. I actually do plan to bring those in. Number one, I am a big fan of the styling. I like the cross hatching on the jaws, and maybe more importantly, I'm kind of a big fan. It started with the NWS Ergo combis. I actually really like that setup. I know it's some people like it, some people hate it, some people it's like, oh hey, you know, this is kind of nice in this application. I've fallen in that boat where now that you've got it, you're like, man, this is nice. Especially, I'm looking right here at my bench grinder. I come in with those NWS pliers and I just hold here. I don't have to tilt and put the wrist in weird positions. It's starting to sound like an Athlean video, right? Like, You don't want, you know, the wrong angles and degrees. This is more natural in your planes of motion. Same thing there. So what this is going to do, if you can kind of get a feel for it, if this was in position and grabbing something and we came down, we basically are planted on this backside. You know, it's going to hold. We put down on our load, we're home free. What this allows us to do is quickly, very, very quickly adjust. So again, this is super strange with the tripod here, but you can kind of see there and you think, well, that's not much capacity. Well, here's the deal. Bahco and Snap-on have 2 iterations of these. Yes, there's a couple different colors, but you think, oh yeah, you just thread that up. You want a wider, idiot, just run it down here. I can, but look what I have to do. I have to sit here and spin it, just like I have to spin this thing. This does have, for what it's worth, nice knurling on it. This is probably late 90s, early 2000s, and probably late 90s if I had to guess. But right here you go to town and it's kind of the same thing. It's a little quicker, it's easier to articulate, not as much material you have to run up and down, finer thread count versus that. You get the idea. You could run them if you wanted to. But check this out. If you spend more money with the Snap-on man, you get something like this that says push. And you're like, well, what's that? You can, I mean, you don't need that, man. Just run it up and run it down, adjust that way. Well, here's the deal. What if it's something really small? Like, what if you're having a nightmare of a time getting a grease zerk freed, right? Or a grease tube, I should say. And you've got to come in and you get this planted down on there. You're just going to run it up, right? Well, check this out. Push, which I'm doing. Hopefully you can see that articulate. I just ran it up. What does that do? That stops the play. And what does that mean? That means I can come in here and we can essentially go to town. So whether you're tightening it back or whether you're breaking it free, that sets everything in motion. Now let's say that you've done a couple of motors with grease tubes that were all a complete pain in the butt, and now you've got to go and you've got to get some giant freaking hardware off, right? Like an overhead hoist type of a thing. It's going to be way bigger than this. So what do? You push, look at the end of the thread right here, kind of where my thumb is. We go down, and what does that allow us to do? If I spin this around, we just got maximum opening. So there's actually a bit more we could go. Apologies there, I had to go hack some cast iron out of my lung. Was grinding a lot today. But if you ever question the effectiveness of masks, there you go. I also was struggling right before I had to go have a coughing spell. Like, hey, why won't this run down all the way? And I'm sitting here and I realize obviously we'd be limited by the handle. Can't go. And I think, okay, well, I'll thread it by hand. And I got a little bit farther. You'll note we can spin this just old school style and negate the push button all the way back up. But if you see what I see right here, and again, I don't have experience with this style of plier. I don't own a Bahco, I don't own a Snap-on. You'll note you got the nice threads here going along, but some of you are like, whoa, what's the deal here? It's like, that's not threads, that's like a something we don't want to see here. And that's what I'm seeing. If you note right here where it looks like you got something broke off, like helicoil-esque, if you will, and then it runs up here following the thread. Is that an intentional stop to keep me, keep you, keep the end user from coming down onto the handle? I figured that would have stopped it, and you're kind of going to be aware of it. I don't exactly know, because again, I didn't realize this was a thing until I opened these up, and I didn't look. I think there were 2 more in the store, so I didn't get to kind of like inspect them. I just kind of was like, yep, that one looks okay. Grabbed it and went to town. So as things stand, this would be the capacity that we'd have. The teeth are pretty dadgum aggressive. They've got a really nice rake, a bit more aggressive, I'd say, than these, for whatever that's worth. But again, different jaw geometries, and then they've got a really nice rake to them. We've got the kick up here. You can see firsthand just how these are insanely sharp here. It's the same thing on the top, it just doesn't look quite as aggressive due to the angle. But right here, again, quick up, quick down, you get the idea. In terms of the plier side, what can we do? Well, check it out. We'll come in, again, I cannot tell you how awkward this is with the tripod. But if you pay attention, this area here, we've got no threaded rod up top. You're going to see the threaded rod drive this up behind this body. Boom, right there. This is going to be our maximum because I can't go down any farther. I know I could knock that out. I have no issues at all or concerns that I couldn't knock that out. I would then just stop here when the threads run out, I would assume. I don't know if that was like a design feature or that's like just a flaw on these, but you can see I can get right here and that's kind of the end of the line. As I turn, it's totally locked in now. So maximum distance is capped out anyway due to the design of the pliers. We're literally unable to drop down any farther. They might have actually been able to cap that a little bit more. But in terms of a quick adjust up, check this out. We're going to close. And if you think, well, hey, I want that to lock, here's the thing. Push all that thread. It would have taken me a lot of time, even as quick as we can spin. It's covered in no time at all. So we can go from maximum, you know, tightness, jaws up on one another, very, very minimal what we grab there, couldn't even get like a quarter key stock, all the way to I want to hold everything. And again, this is where they're limited. You can see the stop hit. So that's a pretty good little chunk of real estate there. Just side-by-side comparison for you. You get the idea now. In my opinion, this is a little overkill on the Icon. You're not really going to get a good grip. You could if it was like way back here, but it would be better for you if you had something set up more like that where the jaws are somewhat parallel, right? You could, again, depending on what shape it is and where you're trying to grab and how much real estate you have, can change that. But just apples to apples, it's pretty close. Again, we can skew this in the Icon's favor if we go full max extension there. But again, in my opinion, you'd kind of be more likely to grab something like that. And I would say they're very, very close. So, granted, kind of different tools, but you could kind of do the same things with them if you wanted to. Right here where we had that set, we can stop. You get the idea. Good stuff. $19.99 from Icon. What I want to know from you, if you knew about them, number one, did you know about them? If not, now that you know about them and you know the price, are you going to pick them up? What are you going to do with them? I think on this channel, comments I would probably see from most of you is something automotive related. Again, just as the packaging said, tie rods. That's probably where most people are going. I'm not sure that there's not better things. I guess it depends on what the manufacturer is doing in terms of their, you know, material geometries and what's going to work well. But I'm kind of excited about these. What I'm confused about is if I want to leave them at home or take them to work. At work, we'd see way more use. And I could put them in some way sketchier situations to see how they hold up. And of course, expedite real-world testing, which is why the other Icon stuff is there. But let's dump this. Get some mints in there. And let's just kind of see what we can do. Let's say, again, this is actually Airline stuff. Well, hopefully you can tell from the dirt and the frickin' washer. And of course, right there, your ports. So let's come in and it's like, well, this is too small. And oh geez, even this is too small. Well, what a shame that we can quickly adjust, right? So I pull down. We've now gotten it to where we can grab. And I don't want to grab the thread, even though I don't think I'll ever use this thing again. If we come in right here, let's say that, I don't know, if this was still a filter body type of a thing and the case is set up, or it's a lubricator that no one ever fills, or what have you. Maybe the plastic body is sealed up something. Maybe you just need to get the fitting out because this is junk and you can't get it anywhere in the vise or something because you'll tear something up. This is a really good hold, actually. Again, daintily holding. And that, yes, I can get aft play, but again, pay attention to the 3 fingers I'm not using. In terms of if I put a grip on that, yes, you can get a little play here, but in terms of this rotating, which is what you would be doing, or keeping it still so it doesn't do, pretty good. And again, this is an awkward angle here. I put this pliers in a less than optimum position, but hey, look at that. Now, the big downside here, these are going to mar the ever-living snot out of pretty much anything that you put in their jaws. Big selling point for these that a lot of people forsake is really just, you got a really corroded fastener, or it's just been impacted off and no longer looks like a hex. It's sort of like a four-sided fastener, and the four sides are weird and not 90 degrees. Something like this comes in and it grabs it. This socket, I don't really care if we tear it up. Again, is this going to be the right size? Boom. Look at that. Like, again, this is just dainty, but if I come in and put a toe, put a grip on it, which we did not do there, again, tripod, making my life a complete nightmare. But if we slide up, because we can, right here, this is going nowhere. This is a slick Pittsburgh impact socket, and boom. If you broke your ratchet and you don't have an impact and your air compressor's dead, you need to go to town. Something like this. As weird as it is, you could put this socket on and you've got 12 inches of instant leverage. You could also get a huge pipe and put some pressure on this. I don't think you're going to tear the pliers up that way. Yeah, it's pretty legit in terms of initial testing here. Let's just come in real quick and grab the Cobra. Did I dial this in right? I don't know. Yeah, pretty close. All right, so this is a death match you can't even see, again, because of a tripod. They're awkwardly around both sides of the tripod, and oh man, you get the idea. These suckers grip. So there's the Cobra bark, and right here you got the Icon bark. Just tore into them, which again, it's the downside. That's what you don't like to see, but you will see. It's the trade-off. Anytime anything you grab, you're gonna tear it up. That's just how these types of pliers function. So right here they got square stock, in this case shaved off 2x4, just thumb and pinky getting it done. If I put a death grip on it, again, the deflection that you see here, it's because the wood is softer than the pliers. So when I release that, you can see right here the jaws, and then especially down there on the bottom side where this tooth is coming up. So do I have anything square over here? Not really. I had a big piece of key stock out here last week. I had to cut it down for a guy. But man, I'm sure I do. I just don't know how long it would take me to find it. Stuff like this. Strange little hex couplers, right? You think, man, this is way too big. Well, check it out. How do we adjust? Like so. What do we do to kind of drag her up? We push this button, slide up. Oh, what do you say, idiot? It's too small. So check it out. I just jump down. We got that much more clearance instantly. I stick this in. It's in. That is going absolutely nowhere. This is pretty impressive, I have to say, for a little quick, stupid bench test. The big caveat, what you need to take away from these: number one, they are affordable. Number two, they seem to be pretty decent. Number three, my experience, particularly with Icon's pliers, has been good. Number four, if you pick these up and you're using them, just be warned, you will destroy, absolutely destroy, the finish on whatever you're putting them on. So if it's a situation you're in a pinch and you're like, oh geez, you know, I don't have a 9/16 wrench, will that fit the fastener? Yes. Will it get the fastener off? Yeah. Will it mar the fastener up? Oh yeah. Now if this is rounded off and you just got to reuse it to get home type of a deal, something like that, okay, get it off, put it back on, use it to take it off later, you know, when you're at a shop or something, and replace it with a new fastener. If it's a new fastener, heaven forbid it's like an exotic fastener or something you care about or something you don't want to tear up, not so great. But certainly doable. Again, I can't speak much on this style, like in terms of pipe wrenches. I am old school. At work, this is what I have. Obviously, they're higher grade, they're old school American, and they're this size and significantly longer. But that's what we had, right? That's what we used. This type of adjustable thing, again, it was sort of like professional tier, Snap-on, Bahco. We're not going to pay for that. I don't know that this is very old, honestly. The push button thing, that might have been pretty recent. Don't hold me to that. Again, I've got zero experience with that. But again, the style just like this, minus the push button, where you just see this collar where you thread up and down just like an old school. That's been around a while. I'm not sure when the push button came into prominence, but it is an option. You'll just pay a little bit more with the Snap-on guy. In the case of the Icon, you pay $19.99. Did I pay $19.99? No. We had a 10% coupon. Sadly, I missed the 20% one that was on there, like 12 days of deals. I think it was like a Sunday. I wouldn't have been up there anyway. But right here, 10% off, brand new tool. Can't argue with getting that for under 20. So, what I want to know from you, what do you think of them? Perhaps more importantly, what has your experience been with the Icon range of pliers? Like I said, I don't have them all. I've got a few. You've seen what I have. They're pretty good, especially when you factor in the price. Biggest knock, again, personally, is just the aesthetics. If they want to be top tier and professional grade, I believe they need to match what the other companies are doing, and that's going to be offer you, the end user, color options. If you've got 4 other guys where you work that are Harbor Freight people, and you all have Icon pliers, they all look exactly the same, except for you, because you took your electrical tape and wrapped it around the top side, because everyone knows Gary is green, right? Until the green gets covered in black, and then they look just like Lou's. So, that would be my big complaint. With these, first impressions really good, especially, this is something, my knock on the Harbor Freight pliers wrench with Icon, aside from it being just a direct, just straight across the board knockoff, including the Knipex diamond size indicator, which is where I kind of like really draw the line type of a deal. My big thing there was, man, this is priced at the point where you're almost going to just buy the Knipex. You could patiently wait for the Knipex to have a sale, and there not to be a Icon specific coupon or generic coupon at Harbor Freight, and get the Knipex for the same money, which that's kind of questionable, right? I don't know of anything like this in the $20 range. You know, can you get it from the Snap-on guy? Sure, absolutely. But it's not like you're getting this for $19 from Harbor Freight, and then the Snap-on one is $29 or $34 or something, where you'd be like, well, yeah, okay, let's just go ahead and take care of it, get a, you know, possibly a better tool. This is a chasm, unlike the pliers wrench, where I can legitimately say to you, if this is not something that you've used, that you want to try out, get it for $20, and then if you love it, if you need more sizes, if you break it and you're like, hey, I bet that Bahco one, you know, it's the old guard here, it's going to be a better tool, then go and spend the big money. If this works for you, if it doesn't break and you don't have trouble with it and you love it and you need more, buy it, right? If you're like, man, I really wish you had a 16 or an 18 inch, tell Harbor Freight. For what it's worth, they've been doing better, in my opinion, about being receptive to the customer base. But pliers wrench, again, the big problem, in my opinion, is it's just priced so close to the real deal that you have a hard time justifying it. With their knockoffs of like Snap-on's 3-position pliers, you're coming in at like 19, really now they're 15 to 17-ish, I think, versus 65. What's 17 into 65? Well, you got 17, 34, 51, 68. a quarter of the price almost. And that's sort of where these fall. I think maybe the Bahco Snap-on iterations are going to be around 95-ish with the push button, which we have to compare apples to apples there. That's a fifth of the price. If these were $80, or if the Snap-ons or Bahcos, you could come in and get those for, say, $29 versus $19, I'd say, hey, you know, do what you like, you know. But here, that's a chasm. Like, here's the $19 mark, and here's the $95 mark. Air yourself to this side. Particularly, we don't have anything super long term because we haven't had them a year, but I have been impressed in the little time I've had them. And if this is not something that you're going to use all the time, or you want to get your feet wet, do this. And then, like I said, if it sucks but you liked the concept of the tool, spend more money. If this was great and you just need another pair, stay here. If it's really, really good for you and you're like, man, I gotta have an 18-inch, again, since it's not currently offered, go spend the money. But this is a great way to try something. Same thing with like the 3-position pliers. If you don't want to go pay the piper, which those are so good, I don't know that I really have an issue with the 65-ish range. But here, if you can try this for 20 instead of 100, do that. Let that be your gateway. Feel it out. If it's junk, you're not out much, get it warranted, sell it, trade it, do whatever with it after that. But you've tried it out. It could be great. You could advance to a higher tier brand, or you could be like, you know what, for a fifth of the money, this hadn't let me down. Maybe the jaws, the teeth will wear a little quicker, who knows, maybe it'll turn out to be better. But you're in the door for 20 bucks. And again, initial impression seems to be a pretty decent little setup there. So ultimately, I've got to use it. I can only tell you bench impression here, and since I've never used that style of a plier, I don't have anything real world to compare it to. I'm sure some of you do. If you use the PWZs all the time, or you got like an old Bahco pair from 1996 or something that you're still using, tell people, let them know what you do, how it holds up. Next time you're in Harbor Freight, pick these up, see what you think of them. You can't play with them too much the way the packaging is designed, which is kind of sad. Probably a good thing at the same time. If you're needing a backup pair, or you lost something recently, or you're just like, hey, you know, Gary's always borrowing mine, I'm just going to give him these stupid things, do it. See how they compare. That's something I can't help you with. Again, no real world experience there, but yeah, this went on a bit longer than I intended it to, but it is what it is. Nice and toasty out here. I got to get inside. If I'm going to release this in the morning, I've got less than 12 hours to make that happen. I need to work out, shower, and be to work in a few hours. So with that said, yeah, I am excited about these. Again, might keep them here for a little while, then take them to work, kind of expedite the testing. But like I said, it's sort of an interesting little setup here. I don't have any Swedish pipe wrenches either. Some of you are like, oh, you know, just pull those out for comparison, idiot. I would love to. I don't have one. I've had some Gadors, which looked amazing. They had like the baked blue enamel finish. Those have been on my to-buy list for a long, long time. I'm sort of holding out for tool of the day. So I don't have them, so I can't compare them. This is perfectly imperfect as they are. Cheap pliers wrench and 12-inch Cobras. That's sort of the best I can do for you comparison-wise. But also, if you do use these, let me know. Do you prefer this? I get it. You're probably going to put leverage on this side, but when you do the initial setup, you would probably squeeze with this. Do you get tired of that digging into you? Do you wish it was a fatter handle? Do you find that it's advantageous to have it thin? Let me know your thoughts there as well. But like I said, bench impression on these, pretty good. So with that said, the next goal will be to track down the pistol grip ones. And we might expedite that one too. Again, if I didn't release this early, this thing would be like tucked away at Harbor Freight Tool Hall 60, and you wouldn't see it until, you know, it's like irrelevantly not new type of a thing. Try to keep you up on these. I'm hoping if things slow down, which it's good to be busy, don't get me wrong, but if things do slow down, I've had a lot of you say like, man, you know, you should make news videos. I prefer action or like real stuff like this, but I do, for what it's worth, try my best to keep up with things, you know, like tool related. And maybe some of you had no idea these were out and or were even coming type of a thing. I knew they were coming. They came, they're here, they're now on site on the Mopar mat and ready to go to town. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. If you want to see that type of stuff, let me know. Just kind of keep you updated on it. We can do that, because like I said, if I schedule these, it's way off in the future. Like, you might not see them until December 2024 type of a thing. So with this, I try to sometimes front load things just when it's new, and I think, hey, people can get in these before they're sold out, or while there's still a sale or something, or just while it's new, and maybe get out there, get some seat time with them, provide feedback. But yeah, I'll see how I use them. It's one of those things, again, I should probably just take them to work, expedite things, but might leave them here for a little while. They seem to grip really well. I'm also very scared that they're going to grip crazily. I also feel compelled to put a googly eye right there. Can't tell you why. It's just a feeling. So anyway, that's all I've got for you. LoneStarMopars.com is the website. You can find us Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all three at Lone Star Mopars. I do hope you enjoyed. If you liked the video, I encourage you to subscribe. We got a ton of other videos, tool hauls, Ram revival, old cars, car show walkarounds, you name it, it's all there. Encourage you to check it out. If you like what you see there, subscribe. If you ring the bell, jump your Charger across the creek while wielding your brand new Icon S Pliers wrench. YouTube just might notify you. We got brand new videos Wednesday and Saturday, 9 a.m. Texas time. Again, my apologies here. I'm having to rush through a lot of stuff, and just wanted to get this showcased, and more importantly, be able to start using them. So with that said, thanks for watching. Hope you have yourself a fantastic week. Most importantly, I hope I catch you back here Saturday for more action from the shop.